Association for Dialogue and Affirmation of Monotheism is presenting to you next video.
Our guest on the topic of astronomy. He is also amateur astronomer and coming from USA. His origin is from Albanian region. And I want, for the first time, he introduced to our podcast, Adam, and tell us more about yourself and how you first became interested in astronomy.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. First, I want to thank you for inviting me to this talk. And I just want to do a little correction. Actually, I was born in Macedonia, in Tetovo, in a city, near city Tetovo, which is a town. It's called Sedlarce. So that's all about. And I work in the United States in Wisconsin area. Occupation as a truck driver, and a hobby astronomy, beliefs, Islam, and so on. I used to be in music, but for the Islamic reason, I had to stay away, which is a topic itself, if it's right or wrong. But I just wanted to be on the safe side, you know. So,
Alhamdulillah. So how you came to Islam? Your short story, long?
actually, I was born as a Muslim, and but as a child, always, you know, just by looking at that prayer rug, I used to have all kind of imaginations.
Yeah.
You know, how I was showing in the other half of the prayer rug, you know, like to me used to be like a Jannah imagination, you know, somehow we coming from dunya, but you had the top prayer rugs, you know, with a picture of the Kaaba and the masjid, but then the bottom of it had little corridor entry. That corridor entry to me was like, you know, just like a Jannah for some reason. And that's how my first expression was in Islam, you know. And I just as I grew up, you know, I start reading here, there, and believe it or not, in high school, I was reading more about Islam than reading the books I had to read for my school. And then, you know, not being so perfect in school, so I decided to not go in college, and I ended over there, as far as the knowledge, you know, reading and all that stuff. But then as I moved in the United States, actually before the United States, in 1985, as far as the music part, I, with my brother, recorded a song in Albanian. It's called Vajza Tetovare. I was playing rhythm guitar over there. My brother was playing a lead guitar. And actually back then in Tetovo, we didn't have a multi-recording studio. We had to use just a live recording, actually. I went with my brother with two acoustic guitars. He playing a lead guitar, and me rhythm, and he was singing, and I was singing in the refrain, you know, with him together. So that became very popular, actually, back then, 1984 and stuff like that. And then as I moved to the United States, then I changed my music style. I took over, you know, as a lead guitar player, and recording all the instruments pretty much myself. And here, there, my brother's been recording some of them too. And then we became pretty much not live band, but more like a studio band. So we owned our recording studio, and then I had to move according to my taste. So I moved from a classic, you know, with acoustic guitar, we moved to the rock music, and I had to sound more like I loved Pink Floyd and AC/DC. So they're very different from each other. But when I was tired, listening to Pink Floyd, being depressed. When I was happy, I was listening to AC/DC because that's more like energy to it, you know. So,
Yeah.
but then as a recording music, you know, we did like 5 albums, none of them perfect, you know, always never been happy. But then when I reached to the level, you know, doing the last album, I worked so hard to do it so perfectly, you know, in the timing, the rhythms and everything, and the intonation. And then there came the time when I decided to quit because Islam. So, and alhamdulillah, I stay away from it because it's too much energy for it. And anything in the doubt you have in Islam, you need to stay away. So, you know, I'll let the scholars speak about, you know, what means if you play music or not. It's their part to do that part, you know. I just go to it with my feelings, you know, and just give up on that. But I had a period of time, you know, where I had the music and astronomy at the same time. One thing I need to add here, interesting, is that when I was going to France with the music, you know, like playing music and hanging with the friends, you can see young people being kind of crazy, drugs and everything. But turning around at the same time, going in astronomy clubs with friends, totally different people, totally different educational people, and as far as I never heard among them talking about drugs. I never heard among them talking bad words, and pretty much meeting, mostly the educated people in the colleges and engineers and all that stuff. And imagine, like even when I went to visit NASA, I had a chance to meet, um, the astronaut from Apollo 15, Al
Yes.
Worden, but he wasn't the one actually landed on the moon. He was the one who was in a probe, the kind of backup. If something goes wrong on the moon with the landing part, so these guys have to jump in and to rescue the people. So which that's why, I
This
don't want to
was
get
in your
that topic.
astronomy class, you said that
What is
you
that?
met on your astronomy class? Or
No, that was actually he had a program. He can meet, he gave a little lecture for 1 hour, and then he let people to have questions in the end of the lecture. And I asked some questions, but I was embarrassed to ask him, like if they really landed on the moon, because then you make him like he's a
Yeah.
thief. He like just like asking somebody, are you lying or are you telling the truth? It can be a little too much, asking. But I wanted to ask him about it. I was thinking maybe ask him in private if I had a chance, but I just didn't bother, to talk to him much in private. Just shake hands and took a picture in the end of it, and it was a good memory, meeting. That's what I'm trying to say is like being in astronomy, you could reach all kinds of level of people, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I was talking about himself, like to be astronaut, they were asking, what do you need to do? And he said, like to be astronaut, you really have to be perfect for everything. Not too high, not too low, smart, mechanic, engineer. You have to be,
Engineer, yeah.
like healthy and everything. It's very interesting, to hear him talk about it, But actually, sadly, he passed away. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. But going back to the astronomy in the beginning, actually, as a child, now talking in astronomy part, as a child, I loved stars. Just by looking at astronomy, it is astronomy, just like looking at the stars. Sorry, mistaken. Just looking at the stars without any telescopes, it is part of the astronomy as well. People don't need to feel guilty and saying, "Oh, I don't have any telescope, so I'm not going to even start astronomy." No, you can start astronomy just by looking at the moon, just by looking at the sunrise and sunset. So as a child, I getting outside, looking at the stars, and I was asking my mom, like, what are the stars about here, there, And she was like, just get inside, She was afraid, like I'm gonna get possessions, like being possessed or stuff like that.
Right.
Superstition beliefs she had back then, She was like, just get inside. I don't want you to get hurt. But when I got to the United States, I just wanted to know about astronomy, which here in Macedonia in my time, nobody even cared. We in geography in the school we learned just about planets a little bit. That's it. That's all it was about. And but in the United States, when I came back, I went to the store selling telescopes, and I didn't even know that clubs exist, and I just asked one of them. I go like, it just came up in my mind. It's like, hey, is there any clubs here, in the United States? Because I see telescopes, and they go like, oh yeah, here's the number of the club and all that. And so I joined them, and then they taught me what is the best to buy, what telescopes is best to buy in the beginning. And
Who is your mentor in that time?
what is that?
Who is your mentor at your time?
I had no mentor. I just, going in a club and meeting friends, and hearing lectures over there, here, there, and and have people, join their telescopes. People are very happy to share telescopes over there. And then I used to go it's called Astrofest. They had the festivals. All the astronomical clubs used to get together, like a star party, we call it today. Back then they called it, Astrofest, the star party, actually.
Did you like it?
I loved it because back then they used to be united. See, everything is united is the best. United States and everything else. And everything, like Muslims used to be united, going back a little bit, touch of in Islam and all that, was the best. They were united, they were Khalifa and all that was the best. Yeah. Same thing with United States. It's stronger because they're united. Same thing in astronomy. They used to be united. They used to get about 1,000 people from all over the United States in that star party. And they used to, put the scopes in the field. And
that's 90s. You were speaking about last century or this century?
Yeah, actually, it was around 2005, 2004, something like that.
Mhm.
And then that's my point, to get to this particular part is that, being united. There used to be thousands of people. It used to be so much fun. I used to be able to observe 30-inch through 30-inch, telescope.
Yeah.
The mirror being 30 inches, used to climb on ladders and observe, like, and it was amazing. Like looking at the object, Orion Nebula was like the size of the 50-inch TV, it was amazing. But then, as I wanted to mention that, then going back, they got separated, they got split up, they got in arguments and all that.
Mhm.
Then all that big star party turned into, 100 people. Each
Yeah.
one, they made their own groups and all that stuff, And that's why we met over in Kosovo by the AUK,
Yeah.
And over there, actually, back then when I met them, they didn't have astronomy clubs. And then I tried to inspire them, bringing my telescope over there and teaching them, about the sky and sharing my telescope. And I told them, I said, you guys, maybe you should create some club or something. So they did. But sadly, they separated, just like in the United States. Separated, they got some arguments. So one group, stayed in, Stima. Right now we have it, the observatory. The other group got split up and they went to Pristina. That's some old observatory they remodeled and they trying to use it right now over there, which they don't say much in contact with me for some reason. But this one in AUK, in Stima, or the original person who was the most leader from there recently, that one actually is from Vushri. And she actually has a lot of appreciation, for what I tried to do in the beginning. So especially, she mentioned to me, actually, I don't know if she mentioned in public or not, but she mentioned to me that when I met her first time, I gave her a bunch of astronomy magazines.
Mhm.
And that was the number one reason she got the key how to get in the United States and all that to that level, because she met through those magazines. She found a lot of people could help her, and she
Ah.
contacted them, and that's how she started. Actually, basically, I don't want to speak too much about giving credit to myself, but I was the first
Now
key.
Kosovo has its own observatory, and how we saw this, it was fabulous. So the object
Yeah.
we also met there.
Which now, is like the first, at least first planetarium in Albanian nation, basically. It
Wow.
could be, I don't know if it's in Macedonia, it could be too, first one. And
Well,
it's just
Macedonia,
amazing,
there is
they got
observatory.
such a
Yes,
good
although,
success,
yeah.
They succeeded very well. And I'm really happy, with
How it will be funded in future? Does it has any plan? Because the founding was $300,000. Now they said that there is no plan for continuous funding because there is need to pay electricity, all the.
Yeah, I think somehow the way they told me, the state actually funded the building and then they got some kind of contract for that. For long term, actually, because they helped them because they wanted to have education part of it, and then they want to have, support that for a long time, actually, because it's going to be part of the college maybe next time,
Yeah.
and somehow that is going to be maintained. Honestly, I used to be very pessimist, not like what happened, but I was
Yeah.
afraid they're not going to be able to maintain it because I was telling, Pravera especially about it. I've seen it in college in Whitewater in Wisconsin. I see observatory loaded with spiders, loaded with dust because people just don't care. Even in the United States, like if you talk about hunting, guns, everybody loves it. If you talk about, beers and fun, everybody loves it. Music, rock, all that. But when it comes to astronomy, even in the United States, with some clubs I joined over there, it was hard, to promote astronomy. We used to go in the city too, same like Pravera does here too. And we used to go over there and try to promote astronomy, try to make people be involved with astronomy. Just people seems like they're not getting very excited. I had a friend who bought a telescope one time, and his telescope in a box outside had like a nice, beautiful galaxies and nebulas with the colors, and he thought he's going to see the same thing when he buys a telescope. And he buys like $800 a telescope, which I did buy it from him actually later on, which is a ETX Meade 125, and he looked first time in the objects and he got so disappointed because he didn't know human eye cannot see colors like the camera can produce. Even with camera, you got to do a lot of work to bring those colors right,
Yeah.
Yes, we can go into that topic, if somebody cares to know about it. Actually, can share a little bit of any ideas how to take photographies, too, would be nice. Just to help others,
Refet, when we speak about these issues, I want you first connect us with Islam also. Not, I know the love of astronomy, but because I have personal connection, I have a book about Quran and astronomy. So
I would love to read that.
how do you you will have it, inshallah, because
Inshallah.
it's already published, but possibly I give it to Prem, and I need a feedback. Why? Because it's not our solution to tell that Quran and science are something. We prove it. We believe in science, we believe in Quran, but the thing is they go parallel, so they support each other. And the invitation to look to the stars from the Quran is the main point which connect us. So when we look to the stars, we remember God. And so how did you find this connection? Which possibly
It is meditation
verse?
itself,
Yeah.
It's meditation itself. When I met you over in Stima in Kosovo, when you start talking about this book you wrote, I go like, man, I felt like I met myself, believe it or not. Because it's like, I wanted, I wanted to write something like that a long time ago, and I never did. Same thing, I wanted to promote astronomy a long time ago, so much to give it to other people so people can love it. I never did, but I'm so glad you did wrote the book. Same thing, I'm so glad Pravera actually achieved, all this sharing astronomy, which is amazing what she did.
But you're the part which is missing. You're the part which is missing, and I found you. I think when you start this, you need some astronomer. It's not the thing which, because I had many information about astronomy, and I was like, I don't have the eyes. You don't have the eyes. You have the information, but you don't have the practice. So astronomers are the practice of this.
No connection. I have no connection.
No. You have just the verses of the Quran. You have the science, but you don't have the practice. So you're the one who is showing this, and this is the publicly. It will continue until we don't take everything from your knowledge, because sometimes even you are not, I don't know, on universities and this kind of, because we don't need universities for this kind of stuff. We need passion, and we need tools. So you have both of them. You have the great passion, you have the tools, and the most important, you have the faith. So you connect the dots which are mostly staying aside from people. And I'm just amazed that there are Muslims who are believers who are practicing this. Why? Because it's so rare to see Muslims, even they have the orders. You can find them like doing zakat, doing charity, doing everything. But you cannot find this part, like it's missing, but it's very present. Around 200 verses of the Quran which are directly speaking about universe, and more than, I don't know, several hundreds which are
just getting the goosebumps, just getting the goosebumps right now. Do you know why? Because he's just speaking exactly my mind. When I don't know, it was like 15 years ago, I think. Actually, in 1985, it came in Albanian language. The first time the Quran was written in Albanian language in translation. And as I started reading over and over and over and over, and I was so much in love with it. And then I was reading so many ayahs about heavens and earth, stars, heaven and earth, the moon, the sun. And I got a little upset. I go like, how come I don't hear these imams speaking about universe? Because they go like, don't they see it? Don't they see the Quran? Which, back then, probably even Albanian imams, didn't read much in their own language, basically. Who knows how much they knew Arabic either, But I was getting upset, and somehow I wrote a little article in a blog, somewhere in the blog, a long time ago. I don't even know the password of that blog. And I had a cousin, actually, who used to be my teacher, for Albanian language and grammar and all that. So I had him to help me a little bit to, correct my words and stuff like that. But in that article, I did complain, which later on I changed it. I go like, maybe I'm too harsh, And I said like, why these imams don't care about astronomy? That's how upset I was. But then I changed it. I go like, I don't want to be so rude, Then I go like, who knows, everybody has their own field of thoughts, But yeah, and then I was amazed, like reading those verses of the Quran, and then I gave little personal commentary, and I gave with a reserve. I didn't want to say 100% is like this, but I said maybe, because the Quran says, I decorated 7 heavens and earth, and the nearest heaven I decorated with stars. Basically, I created 7 heavens and earth, and the nearest heaven I decorated with stars. And then I made my little analogy, as I said, if someone has 7 apples, and it says, I have 7 apples, but one of them is red, for example.
Yeah.
Which means the rest of them are not red. And then I similar to the analogy, I put it, little commentary, personal commentary, but I said, I could be wrong. But I said, this means that chances are the all universe we know it could be in the first layer, because all the galaxies contain stars. And
I
also
am the same topic in the
decorated
book.
with stars.
Yeah, I agree with this.
No.
No, not everybody
Again, I can be wrong.
agrees. Yes.
But
No,
I
no,
just
this
I
is
gave it,
obvious.
that opinion long time ago. But then later on, I start hearing people saying, and I don't think they heard it from me. They're saying the same thing, and they go like, if 2 people, 3 people saying the same idea, maybe it is true. Maybe I was giving them the knowledge about it.
But that's obvious because we have the first heaven. That's the first universe. Why we have to think about this like this? Because everything we see is the first universe. We cannot see the second. So when you watch in the past, can you tell us something? What you mostly observed? We don't have much minutes, around 5 minutes to finish the first podcast.
Fine, you can jump.
Inshallah, we will continue maybe in the next podcast with the details. But how is the experience like seeing the first solar eclipse, first meteor shower, first planetary alignment? What's most interesting, impressive event?
Like I said, I used to be in astronomy clubs, and I observed, M42 Orion Nebula, that 30-inch telescope. I was shocked, actually. And but then even with binoculars, back then I was younger, it looks like my eyes were seeing much better too. And I was like so impressed just looking at the M45, the Pleiades. I was so impressed with that too. And I go like, I want to buy those. Then I was in Florida, I observed it through 10-inch Meade Saturn, and I was amazed with the ring of the Saturn. Excuse me.
So for the context, I'm changing the pictures, which can show your telescopes and what were you observing. I will keep speaking.
Good.
And if
this scope here, what you see right now, this is in my hometown here in Macedonia, and I use this one. I bought this one mostly for astrophotography, and this one actually right now what you're pointing, this one is mostly for observing, and I use it for a video as well. Like you see that video eyepiece over there connected to those. Back then, I used to connect it right to the old TVs because it's a RCA connection. But now I had to buy the new age, I had to buy a digital converter. So I'm converting it from RCA into the digital so I can record it on USB. And I can display that in the public as well. I can, and these days I have even different camera. Can
we take, for example, in another country, this kind of telescope, or is it a problem?
Actually, when I brought it over, it was with the biggest scope in Albanian nation. And but now, as these clubs growing, and they already have now really good scopes as well. Like Primavera received, that 14-inch Smith Cassegrain, that is much more expensive than this one, the one I have. But this one is for visual, is very strong, and it is very clear. It gathers more light. It's all about the light when it comes to the.
What do you use for transport?
Actually, this one it breaks down into 2 pieces. 3 pieces, actually. And it's very easy to transport. So that's why I'm hoping me and you and your friends and our families going, like you mentioned, in that mountain over there, and you'll be amazed if you see this thing. And this is, it has a mirror. It has a very good quality as well. It's a handmade mirror, actually. It's very good.
In this scope, in this telescope?
Yeah, this one is actually here in Macedonia, so we can use this one ourselves.
Okay. And this one?
Yeah, we can take it in public in the city. Maybe we just observe the moon, and if we have the planets around, it'd be nice too. The bright objects you can observe on the city, but when it comes to the dark, deep sky objects, you need to go in the deep, darker area. And now what you're displaying here, the scopes. These scopes are in the United States, and this in the United States I use mostly for photographies. I don't have for observing any bigger scope because I have friends who have bigger scopes, and I just go and spend time with them, for observing.
So for this one, do you need a license to travel to other countries?
No. It's just like a laptop. You can take it with you anywhere.
Because you get the license as astronomer, and you can use it in any country you wish.
No, I don't need the license. You don't need anything. It's just like using your phone. Nobody bothers you what you do with it.
No,
You don't need any license.
because
anything,
for
no.
drones, they're a problem, for example.
Yeah, you're right, because the drones can hit the airplane, this one you can't.
But with this, you can observe maybe some objects. Some people don't know; they're not used to in Balkan.
Well, these scopes are meant for the sky, basically. I know over even by that big scope you show me, the one I have here in Macedonia, they were saying, oh, what about if you point it to the house? And they're like, no, you cannot even point it to the house because it doesn't go low enough to point it to the house. And plus, when these scopes you're talking, these scopes are like 400x. You see these scopes like 300 times more than your eye can see. That in the binoculars, you have like the size of the binocular, it says 8 by 50, for example, which means 8x. You see 8 times closer to more than your eyes. And 50 means the lens of the binoculars are 50 millimeter wide lens. But with this scope, you see like 400 times. You see 300 times, which, even if you try to see objects on the ground, you can't because it becomes dark. You cannot see any details, really. It meant basically for planets. It meant for the sky. That's why there is no law, if you should have a license or not. And bottom line, I what I tell people about it, they talk about it like that. They used to, try to make joke about it. They go like, look, I say, if you want to see somebody, just go and see it and keep seeing them. Just hang on the road.
Brother, just to conclude, because it's a never-ending dialogue which we will have, and probably we will continue. We want to publicize this and to make promotion of astronomy in the masses of people. It nevertheless, it's Muslim or non-Muslims. We need to publicize this. Also, the project which we are doing, it's a Dawa project, so people get known the importance of some topics which are secluded from Islam, but there shouldn't be excluded. And hopefully, I'm glad to meet you. And this